sports professor Rick Horrow. Beyond the Scoreboard, a serious show that doesn't take itself too seriously, but it's a $1 trillion sports business entering the dog days of summer. The whole entire industry moves over to across the pond. Tour de France basically finishing, European soccer basically done, and now, after these next couple of weeks, the PGA Championship at Baltusrol. Then we go to Rio. We'll have extended Olympic coverage for us, all aspects of the Olympics next week and the week beyond. But guess what? Football training camp starting within the next week. It's unbelievable that we have football already. NFL is mulling whether it should narrow its goalposts or not, and computer chips inserted into each kickball used during the preseason helps determine if there will be a change or not. And the instrumented balls will allow the league's competition committee to determine, among other things, precisely how far inside the uprights all successful field goals and extra points have been kicked. If the league wants to collect more data, the same balls would be used during Thursday night football games this year. The ultimate change coming early as 2017. The NFL teams recently informed of plans to use a chip-equipped ball for all plays based in part on feedback from a number of veteran quarterbacks. It could help improve the inexact science of ball placement. How about the inexact science of ball deflation? No, we're not getting into that. Supreme Court already denied that. But the bottom line is we're ready for some football, and it's tennis. The U.S. Open a few weeks away, but the bottom line of all of this is that the tennis championships certainly bigger than they've ever been before. And we have a significant show relative to tennis. We were at the City Open. We have Donald Dell, who in many ways is the senior ambassador for tennis and Pro Serve and Lagardère. Ken Solomon, the president of the Tennis Channel, recently did a deal with Sinclair Broadcasting, televises tennis around the globe. We also have Dennis Spencer, an international broadcast executive that negotiates tennis deals for a living. So sit back, relax, and listen to all things tennis. Prize money, U.S. Open, majors, men and women, the future of tennis, young tennis stars, everything you wanted to know. Rick Horrow, Beyond the Scoreboard. Be back with our tennis special in just a couple of minutes.
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number.
Call 877-499-MY-TV.
The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. So cancel the cable and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money.
Call 877-499-MY-TV.
Right now to sign up for packages starting as low as $24.99, and there's no equipment to buy. You get free HD TV upgrade, a free DVR upgrade, and free professional installation. You control what you watch when you watch it. Record your favorite shows. Pause and rewind live TV. Even skip the commercials. Watch local channels too. At just $24.99, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card.
Call 877-499-MY-TV. That's 877-499-MY-TV.
Cancel the cable, cut costs, and get more.
Call now, 877-499-MY-TV. That's 877-499-MY-TV.
Rebuild or replace transmission, $3,200. Anti-lock brake system, $1,000. Rebuild or replace engine, $2,400. Truth is, once your manufacturer's warranty runs out, it's all on you. Every last cent. Get protection for covered repairs with a vehicle service contract from Toco Warranty. Unlike other companies, with Toco, there's no down payment, and the monthly payments are really affordable. Not sure how long you're keeping your car? At Toco, you can pay as you go. Keep your hard-earned cash and call Toco Warranty right now at 800-222-2313 to save big money on covered auto repairs. Prices vary by vehicle, but for about the cost of a tank of gas per month, a Toco plan has your back on expensive covered car repairs. Monthly payments are very affordable. Get your free quote now. Call Toco at 800-222-2313. That's 800-222-2313. 800-222-2313. Cancellation fee may apply. Subject to eligibility. Not available in Missouri and Washington. Waiting period and deductible apply. Coverage provided and administered by Warrantech Corporation or its affiliates. Not affiliated with any manufacturer or dealership. Visit TocoWarranty.com for complete terms and conditions.
And now, today's Gemstone DIY construction tip. Before you prep your patio area, call your local utilities or 811 to have any plumbing, cable, or electrical lines marked. Then dig down below the root level of vegetation in the area. For dry soil, try watering the area the night before you plan to dig, and always use landscaping cloth to create a barrier between the old soil and the new base of sand you'll be using. And now, a word from Genstone.
So we decided to upgrade the look of our home.
You know, improve the curb appeal. We really like the stacked stone look.
Yeah, but when I checked into the price, it was ridiculous. No way could we afford it.
Then a friend told me about Genstone.
Genstone comes in lightweight panels. They've actually engineered the hassle out of installation. It was easy. Even I could do it.
We just screwed the panels to the wall and it looks like stone.
Yeah, from the box to the wall in minutes.
Call Genstone at 800-955-STONE. That's 800-955-7866.
Hi, Rick Horrow, Facebook Live. We're at it again. We did it the NBA Finals. Game 5 had that work out. Not well for the Warriors, but we were there anyway. How about the All-Star Game? Padres, etc. We're dealing with soccer. We're dealing with the Olympics. We're dealing with all sports. Today, all about tennis. International distribution, the City Open, what's happening here, getting ready for the Olympics, gender disparity, is there any, the prize money issues, doping, drug testing. We'll cover it all, and we have an iconic lineup today. We really do. Many people think it's an iconic lineup. Having dealt with these people, I personally think it's as iconic lineup as we can get. We've got Donald Dell. We've got Donald Dell, the iconic, basically founder of tennis. 1890, 1900?
That's fair.
I wouldn't go back that far.
Not that far, by the way. But Donald Dell, pro serve, now Lagardère, he's been the guy. And if you want to talk tennis on television, you talk about Ken Solomon. Ken Solomon, president, capital P. He's also mechanic, small m. I want you to understand that this is a big deal for us as far as Facebook Live, and I know the technology is evolving. It only takes somebody who has been a world-class tennis and media person. Thank you very much, Ken. I really appreciate your technology and also your willingness to
I'll come on the road with you, Rick, anytime. I can be your prop man, no problem.
You were going to come on the road no matter what. So,
that's true.
So you guys, let's go back and forth on this. And are you going to hold the mic through the interview?
I'm happy to, or Donald has asked me to be his mic holder.
So is he your
He's fine. He's
mic
fine.
holder?
I think he'll do that. He'll do that well.
40 years, 50 years, whatever it is in the tennis business, you basically are now in a position to rise above it and to describe how it's evolved from your perspective. Give us kind of the first piece of where you think the tennis business is, and is it in good hands, and what's happening with it.
Well, Rick, you can imagine in 1969 when we started this tournament, we were the first pro tournament putting up $25,000 in prize money. Remember, the game of tennis went open in '68. There was one open tournament, the U.S. Open, where men and women could play for prize money. The next year, we were the first tournament up on the grass court season. We were a clay court tournament. The next 6 weeks, I was the Davis Cup captain with 10 players on the squad. What year was this, by the way? 1968 and 69. Okay. This was 69 when we started the tournament. And we went to $25,000, winner take all, in prize money. But we also went to the next 6 cities: Marion, Southampton, Boston, all the summer tournaments, South Orange, that led into the U.S. Open, and we got them to put up $25,000 each week on grass coming to the U.S. Open at Westside Tennis Club on grass. And that's really how the pro circuit, tour-wise, as far as prize money, got started. And that was a big deal in those days. And so 48 years later, we're putting up about $2 million here in player compensation for the men and the women. And like Topsy, it just keeps growing and growing and growing, largely because of a guy named Solomon and a company named Tennis Channel. Well, they really promote the sport.
From a perspective of Topsy, now let's talk about tennis.
But before we leave that, I think that what's interesting, Rick, is most people really have no idea. They assume that somehow the notion of open tennis always existed, and it didn't. And it was people like Donald and Jack Kramer who worked for decades and decades to say, hey, pros ought to get paid. And it used to be forbidden from playing in the majors. We just did a whole documentary on this called The Barnstormers.
Called Barnstormers. Shameless promotion. I can do it. You don't necessarily have to. It was marvelous. It was wonderful. And all the guys who have ever watched it, the Charlie Passerells and the Butch Buchholzes, and those folks love it.
And we're going to re-premiere it right during the U.S. Open. So, but the point is that Donald was at the forefront. He always is. This tournament here at a public park that he and Arthur chose so that the people could be a part of it. And we kind of take for granted when he talks about that kind of prize money. I mean, never in the world could anybody have imagined for a major, much less a tournament of this size, that you'd be talking about that big a purse.
But also, let's talk about some of the specifics. So the ATP is in 31 countries and 62 tournaments, and the WTA 61 official tournaments. You've got the majors all over the globe. Tennis can probably be defined as the global sport, getting bigger internationally. It wasn't always that way, but what's the biggest factor that caused it to be international?
Well, I think one is the growth of prize money,
yeah,
and the fact that promotional companies like ProServe, like IMG, like Octagon came in and ran events rather than just the amateur federations in many countries who had always fought open tennis that Kramer was trying so hard. Jack and I started the ATP in 1972. He was the first president of it. I was his general counsel for 8 years. And so we tried to build a players' union to develop the sport and make it more professional. My goal was very simple. When I played in the 60s as an amateur and someone said, well, what did you do besides play tennis? Because there was no money. And I was playing, full-time. He said, well, how do you play full-time if there's no money? And you're getting expenses. You're staying in private housing, you're getting transportation, and you're getting bigger expenses the better player you are. So it was a semi-pro game under the table anyway. And my goal was...
They called it the shamateurs.
Exactly, amateurs. And my goal was
top of the game, basically.
Yeah, was trying to make tennis like golf.
Yeah.
How do you make tennis like golf? When someone says to a player today, what do you do? He says, I'm a professional tennis player. That was my dream. That was my goal.
There's one, just on that point, on the one hand, all of that is true. On the other hand, tennis is the second most popular sport around the globe. It's usually number 2 in almost every country to either cricket in India or to European football in Europe or, Aussie rules football. But organically speaking, there isn't a region. There are very few regions of the world that don't feel that tennis is their own. You can go to the Czech Republic. You can go to South America. You can go increasingly to Asia, and there's a legacy of tennis playing that goes beyond the U.S. and the U.K. They feel it's theirs. There have been players. This is a game that is universal. The lines are the same all over the world. And Donald and Jack and all of those guys, Bobby Riggs up front, they unlocked that. But it was latently always built into the culture.
And from your perspective, again, international Reuters audience, Tennis Channel, one of the things that you've been able to maneuver, so one of the many things that you've done amazingly, is to have an international presence, almost being agnostic with all of these countries and competing, and ESPN's doing its thing and NBC's doing its thing, but yet you've kind of risen above that. How confusing is it? How difficult has that been?
Well, the confusion is probably part of the reason we're here. I think if it was all neatly under one single governing body like the PGA or the NFL, then we probably wouldn't exist or we'd be working for them. Instead, the fact that tennis has always been local in some ways, that it is, they call the alphabet soup of leadership because there's so many different leaders in the game. We were able to come in and say, look, we want to be the table that your tennis brand rests on wherever you are in the world. By bringing them together, you get the network effect of everything together for the storytelling purposes and all the rest. It's a natural. And so the thing that was actually a negative for so many years that Donald and all of my predecessors had to fight, of kind of the disparity of the game, the fractionalization of the game, in spite of the fact that there's more of it than any other game every week, has become a benefit in a world where Reuters and Facebook, are bringing people personalized media.
Well, and the other issue too, Donald, comment about this, is it's a relatively gender-neutral sport, meaning that the ATP prize money we see is over $108 million, which is great, and it's up 70%. But the women's side has been up about 30% as well, and $70 million. And when you look at the top players in the top of the top 11, 6 are men, 5 women, and you could see the mixture of the young and the old as well. How did that happen? Was that just a coincidence? Was there a conscious effort to drive both at the same time?
No, I don't think it happened by accident at all. You had pathfinders like Billie Jean King that really led the charge for equal prize money, for growth of the sport all over the world. And what people have to understand, and we have a sponsor here, Citi, that said, listen, 51% of my clients are women. So we wanted a co-ed tournament, men and women, which we started 5 years ago with Citi. And it's very, very important to understand that you said it's gender equal, which it is. The women are playing all over the world, but they're not that many. The slams and a few others that are co-ed, and I think that's very good for the sport because one really helps the other from interest. We get a lot of phone calls here this week asking when is Carolyn Wozniacki going to play or when is Sloane Stephens. I mean, that's just the facts of it, that the women add something to the men to make it a better sport.
Do you feel good, Ken, that
well, let me answer that, but first I just want to kind of jump on and finish with some other thoughts of what Donald was saying, which is, this is the only sport when we say gender neutral. It's not just that, because there are women players, we have a female audience. It's actually quite different. It's that men watch women as much as they watch men compete in a professional arena. That's unprecedented.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for prescription drugs? Well, we have great news. Now you can finally get prescription drugs at huge discounts from Canada Drug Center. That's right, the most popular drugs for cholesterol, high blood pressure, depression, diabetes, arthritis, and many more are now up to 75% off. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices when you can get brand name drugs at the lowest price? Call today and get up to 75% off all the popular brand name prescription drugs. Never pay high prices again. Get the most popular drugs at huge savings from our Canadian and international pharmacies and fulfillment centers. No insurance? No problem. Prices are so low you do not need benefits or insurance to get all your prescriptions fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting to take your call now. Order today and get free shipping. Just call 800-950-1180. Up to 75% off all the popular brand name prescription drugs and free shipping. Call 800-950-1180. That's 800-950-1180.
Rebuild or replace transmission, $3,200. Anti-lock brake system, $1,000. Rebuild or replace engine, $2,400. Truth is, once your manufacturer's warranty runs out, it's all on you. Every last cent. Get protection for covered repairs with a vehicle service contract from Toco Warranty. Unlike other companies, with Toco, there's no down payment, and the monthly payments are really affordable. Not sure how long you're keeping your car? At Toco, you can pay as you go. Keep your hard-earned cash and call Toco Warranty right now at 800-222-2313 to save big money on covered auto repairs. Prices vary by vehicle, but for about the cost of a tank of gas per month, a Toco plan has your back on expensive covered car repairs. Monthly payments are very affordable. Get your free quote now. Call Toco at 800-222-2313. That's 800-222-2313. 800-222-2313. Cancellation fee may apply. Subject to eligibility. Not available in Missouri and Washington. Waiting period and deductible apply. Coverage provided and administered by Warrantech Corporation or its affiliates. Not affiliated with any manufacturer or dealership. Visit TocoWarranty.com for complete terms and conditions.
Tired of calls, levies, and liens from the IRS or hiring others who don't get the job done? Call Wall & Associates and you'll never talk to the IRS again. The IRS has a program to eliminate tax debt, and Wall & Associates professionals are trained to maximize its benefits for you. You always speak with a live person with real support and real knowledge. We've helped thousands of taxpayers like you settle their tax debt with the IRS for a fraction of what they owe. We solve tax problems. Call Wall & Associates now, 800-480-5708. We have the professionals who know how to solve tax problems. If you owe money to the IRS, your tax problems are not going away by themselves, and the passage of time will only make matters worse. Act now, before it's too late. Call Wall & Associates right now to speak to a professional tax relief agent. Call 800-480-5708. That's 800-480-5708. Again, 800-480-5708.
Sports Professor Rick Horrow, Special Tennis Edition, Ken Solomon, Tennis Channel, Donald Dell, Tennis Icon, Dennis Spencer, Tennis Executive.
I mean, that's just the facts of it, that the women add something to the men to make it a better sport.
Do you feel good, Ken, that Perform and some of the other major sponsors have stepped up to buttress the WTA going forward?
Well, let me answer that, but first I just want to kind of jump on and finish with some other thoughts of what Donald was saying, which is, this is the only sport, when we say gender neutral, it's not just that, because there are women players, we have a female audience. It's actually quite different. It's that men watch women as much as they watch men compete in a professional arena. That's unprecedented. And the same is true for women. Women watch men as much as they watch women. So that makes it unique in the entire pantheon of major sports. That's a huge, huge thing when you're in my business, which is the media business, which means that I have potentially double the audience of any other sport going in. That's number one. And you kind of follow that all the way down, and it's really remarkable. The Perform deal is a development in the way that things are happening. That's a company that's owned by a worldwide media company, and ultimately up to Len Blavatnik. And it's, I think that anything that is supporting more coverage is a good thing. We're here to say, great, the more people that are investing resources in the WTA and the ATP, the better. But I will tell you this, there's no other sport. If Forbes magazine did the top 100 most valuable athletes in the world, and there are 6 tennis players in the top 50, 3 of them are men, 3 of them are women. That has been consistent throughout. And they, by the way, rank up there with movie stars and above them very often.
Very interesting. Never before has somebody talking into a pen at any level used the word pantheon, by the way. Just want you to understand that. So next thing that's relative to this, on-court versus off-court ratios, when you look at those top 10 or even top 50, they're earning 4 to 8 times off the court what they make on the court, which segues into something quite interesting, Olympic stuff. The head of the Rio organizing committee, Carlos Nuzman, he's not a fan of golf, and he was saying, look, the guys, the Rory McIlroys and all, they should be doing this. They have mosquitoes in Florida. They're playing in Florida. They're not doing it in Brazil. You have Burditch. So it's just by facts. So you have Burditch, you have Raonic, you have Isner, you have Team, Kyrgios. I'm sure I missed a couple of people, Halep, who are not going. Does that bother you?
In a way, the problem that nobody really understands, the players are making huge sums of money week after week. Yeah. So to play in the Olympics is to represent your country. Right. But you also have a thing called the Davis Cup that was just played last weekend all over the world, and they're representing their country. And so the players are now starting to think, do I want to go to Rio? And one of the things that's changed, the ATP and the ITF have withdrawn the points on the Olympics. That is going to eventually very, very much hurt the Olympics, because if you're not getting points to play in the Olympics and you're playing only for your country and you're making big dollars every other week of the year, it's going to be a push-pull for many of those players. Some of them are hurt. Some of them aren't hurt, Rick, and they want to rest. Yeah. And again, that's a big factor.
You admit it's a hard thing to understand, though, for the average person to say, why aren't you doing it for our country? Yeah. But it's a lot more sophisticated than that.
Well, I think that for tennis, it's a much more nuanced answer. Yeah. Golf is premiering in Rio, right. And you have a virtual walkout of the top players with 1 or 2 exceptions. So that's slightly different, right? In tennis, you start with the fact that, in every major, there's 128 men and 128 women, and there's some dropouts. Yeah. So what you just listed wouldn't be an unusual amount of dropouts for any tournament, right? You're talking about a lot of players over a huge, sum of countries, and some are going to have personal reasons. They're on the road all year long. Very different equation than what we think of as the normal Olympic athlete, who basically is training their whole life for those 4 years. These are professional athletes who are living on the road. So I don't look at this as a tennis exodus at all, in the way that the golf is an interesting thing. If you talk to people like Andre Agassi or Roger Federer, they put their Olympic wins at the right up there with the pinnacle of their career. So I just wouldn't jump to the conclusion of putting tennis in the same boat as where golf is, which is a complicated situation for them.
And if the Williamses win, it's the third oldest, either one, winner of an Olympic medal. So there's a lot to play for, and people, it's a personal decision.
Well, it's a personal choice. I mean, the Williams are very nationalistic. They think it's a great honor to represent their country, which it is. And a lot of people feel that way, but it's all about choices now. I mean, the open tennis and open golf, it's choices, and each player makes a different choice depending on what their schedule is and whether they're injured or whether they. I think the Olympics in tennis has been very, very successful. In London, when they were playing at Wimbledon, 54 out of the top 57 players in the world ranked showed up to play the Olympics.
Do you think that had more to do with Wimbledon, or did it have more to do with the Olympics? Or?
I think it had to do a lot with Wimbledon and London.
Yeah. It's interesting. Probably the definitive tennis agent in this solar system and any other, Donald Dell. So you think about perspective. The older fine tennis players, the Connorses, the McEnroes, the Borgs, others. Is there a sense today that Djokovic and Murray and the big guys today are better, are more responsible? I'm not even talking about on court because you really can't compare. But how do you feel about their responsibility, A, to give back, and B, their business acumen?
Well, I think that the game has changed so dramatically. Everybody wants to compare eras, and you really can't. You got new rackets, different surface, new balls. And remember, there was no tiebreaker when Rod Laver was winning. I mean, the whole game has changed, but I do think that it's expanded and grown enormously. And certainly Roger Federer and Djokovic have been responsible for a lot of the growth, and they're very responsible class acts when you watch them play and the way they conduct themselves off the court, which is really important.
How do you feel about that?
I agree completely. I think it's halcyon days. I think it's complicated because you get athletes. This sport demands more, perhaps, than any other of its competitors because it starts in January and it ends in December, and it's played every day of the week from Monday to Sunday, except at a major wherein it's played Monday to the following Sunday. And the better you do, the more you have to work. The Wimbledon used to be the winner played the field. They got to kind of kick back, watch everybody, and then wait and play the field at the end. Instead, you've got to win 7 matches. You're playing Sunday, and you're getting on a plane going somewhere to play the next Tuesday or Wednesday. So there's a tremendous amount of pressure, but there's also been a tremendous amount of upside. And to me, the biggest thing, Rick, is you can't get a slot for a professional tournament, men or women, in the world. Yeah. It is the single hardest thing to get. And when they open up, they are gone like this. And when they are in a place where there's an audience, those tickets sell out. It fills like a gas in a pipe. It just fills it right up, and you can't get seats.
One more set of questions because this has basically been the Ken Solomon Reuters show. He's been on with us 3 times, and this is now the 3rd interview we've done. And for the 3rd time, he's been looking at the cell phone and doing other stuff. And are you okay?
Well, I'm actually just checking out what's going on in the match. You knew, Rick, you are the best straight man in the business. But, I wanted to go, Donald, if you would hold this for me for a second.
We're going to do it again.
What I wanted to do was actually go to the outer courts here. So I was going to go, and I hope that you're seeing.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ken. What are you doing? What are you checking?
How's that? Is that better? Just seeing, Grandstand 1 is having a changeover, so there's no one there right now. So we'll go back to the main courts. Or I could just go check any of the other matches that already happened because they're instantaneously available. 3rd
time I've done this with this guy. He's done it each time.
But he
still talks into a pen, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. Part of the problem. Final set of questions. Put that away. We're done with that. Final set of questions. Magic wand. One thing you could change today in the whole world of the business of tennis. Donald, what would it be?
Well, I think they've really got to straighten out and tighten up player withdrawals at the last minute. Right. There's a lot of withdrawals this week here, but they withdrew on Friday. In Canada next week, when Nadal, Federer, Murray, Tsonga, Ferrer don't show up and they don't tell the people until Friday or the day before the draw, that's a serious problem that has got to be corrected by the players. The players have to understand a healthy sport is the best thing in the world for them. They're going to make a lot more money all over the world if they have a healthy sport. And a healthy sport is not having these kind of last-minute withdrawals when you're putting up $6 million in Toronto.
Magic wand?
Well, it's a long list, but I think if you said one thing for me, it would be having greater alignment between the men's and women's tours. And they are separate, they're different, they work together occasionally, but most of the time they're out fighting for themselves, which is understandable because they are separate. But if they were together, tennis would have a better opportunity to compete on a level playing field with all other sports. My magic wand would have been what's just happened for us, which is to partner with a company that allow us to get greater scale so that we can do that virtually for television audiences and media audiences.
Oh, you were just sold? I don't know that. Don't tell us about that.
Well, we just had a partner who helped us, we've added 20 million, plus homes in the last so we're up to 55-ish million, heading to 70 hopefully, and all we ever wanted was an equal playing field in order to be able for tennis to compete. Again, it's sort of a renaissance now for the sport, not only in terms of what's going on in the game itself, but also in terms of media. And tennis is built for it because it's so prolific. So you need to have devices like this with to follow it, because there's multiple. We're doing every ball on 3 courts here, and when we're at Wimby or we're in Flushing, we're doing 17 to 20 courts.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you that this is the iconic. There's nobody better. And, of course, Donald, who is the ambassador and flies way above all of us at this level, doesn't really have to be over the top. Over the top here, but he clearly says whatever he wants to say. Ken Solomon is the best and the best promoter and the best television executive. Guys, thank you all for being here.
Appreciate it, Rick. Thanks.
Appreciate that. That's great. Give me the pen back. That's good. Beyond the Scoreboard.
Blood pressure tends to run higher during the day and lower during nighttime sleep. However, many with high blood pressure don't exhibit this nighttime dip, a condition called non-dipping. More in today's AARP health tip after this.
At Walgreens, getting diabetes testing supplies with Medicare Part B is a walk in the park. Really. Because getting what you need is quick and easy, giving you more time for other things. There's $0 out of pocket on all major brands like AccuCheck and Walgreens TrueMetrics, and no extra paperwork. So managing diabetes becomes a stroll down Easy Street, or a trip to the movies, or even a day at the beach. Talk to your pharmacist today. Walgreens, at the corner of happy and healthy.
Zero out-of-pocket cost when billed to Medicare and full coverage supplemental insurance.
Non-dipping is a major risk factor for stroke, heart attack, and kidney disease. But studies show taking one or more of your prescribed blood pressure medications just before bedtime significantly decreases the risk. Of course, never change the timing of your medications without first consulting your doctor. For more, go to aarp.org.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 877-663-7126 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 877-663-7126 to take your call now. Call 877-663-7126. That's 877-663-7126. Again, 877-663-7126.
Rebuild or replace transmission, $3,200. Anti-lock brake system, $1,000. Rebuild or replace engine, $2,400. Truth is, once your manufacturer's warranty runs out, it's all on you. Every last cent. Get protection for covered repairs with a vehicle service contract from Toco Warranty. Unlike other companies, with Toco, there's no down payment, and the monthly payments are really affordable. Not sure how long you're keeping your car? At Toco, you can pay as you go. Keep your hard-earned cash and call Toco Warranty right now at 800-222-2313 to save big money on covered auto repairs. Prices vary by vehicle, but for about the cost of a tank of gas per month, a Toco plan has your back on expensive covered car repairs. Monthly payments are very affordable. Get your free quote now. Call Toco at 800-222-2313. That's 800-222-2313. 800-222-2313. Cancellation fee may apply, subject to eligibility. Not available in Missouri and Washington. Waiting period and deductible apply. Coverage provided and administered by Warrantech Corporation or its affiliates. Not affiliated with any manufacturer or dealership. Visit TocoWarranty.com for complete terms and conditions.
I'm the sports professor Rick Horrow with Beyond the Scoreboard. Baseball's collective bargaining agreement set to expire on December 1. Commissioner Rob Manfred and union leader Tony Clark hope to reach a new deal without any interruptions well before then. Formal talks regarding the core issues of a new CBA began during spring training, and those talks revealed some key points of divergence. Manfred, in particular, said a potential reduction of the regular season schedule would likely result in less money for players due to a drop in revenue. But Clark argued fewer games and more rest could lead to greater performance by star players and, in turn, more fan interest and revenue as well. But nobody expects a strike or lockout to shut down an industry with annual revenue exceeding $9 billion. League executives and the MLBPA will work to reach a deal before December, but major hurdles still exist. Within just 6 hours of going on sale, the entire allotment of Rams season tickets, 70,000, sold. The capacity for this season's Rams games at the Coliseum at 80,000. LA's sellout crowds presenting a drastically different home environment than what the Rams were accustomed to at Edward Jones Dome in St. Louis. But how about going a little further? In 2 years, the Rams and Niners are said to be playing the NFL's first game in China, according to multiple sources. And while all the official details have yet to be confirmed, the game most likely served as the Rams' home opener in 2018. They've already agreed to give up one home game a year for the next 3 years to play overseas during each of the seasons in which they're scheduled to play at the Coliseum before their new Inglewood Stadium is completed. Reports surfaced that the NFL wants to expand its international presence to China, and the Rams were one team selected to play there. Assessing NBA free agency, well, the ever-increasing salary cap allows many of the league's superstars to join forces, Kevin Durant the poster child. And in the wake of that move, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver expressed concern about the impact of the move and the need to maintain the league's competitive balance. Just to be absolutely clear, he said, I don't think it's ideal from the league's standpoint. The good news is we're in a collective bargaining cycle, so it gives everybody an opportunity, owners in the union, to sit down behind closed doors to take a fresh look at the system and see if there's a better way we can do it. My belief is we can make it better, end quote. Silver hopes to rework the CBA to ensure that every team in the NBA has a shot at being competitive. After losing money on the 2010 Vancouver Winter Olympics and breaking even on the Summer Games in London, NBC Sports Group Chair Mark Lazarus firmly believes the network will finally turn a profit in Rio. According to the Sports Business Journal, NBC Sports EVP Seth Winters says that while inventory is still available, NBC closing in on selling $1.2 billion worth of ads. And NBC CEO Steve Burke confirmed the company has hit its sales target for the Rio Games, which will end up being the most profitable in Olympic history. Despite the ongoing drama surrounding Rio and all the problems the city and country continue to face, Burke revealed that the NBC goal and deals are way ahead of where they were at this point leading up to London. While NBC is selling advertising for its digital coverage, a majority of the sales are for commercials on prime-time telecasts over the broadcast network. We got some perspective internationally on the business of tennis broadly. We're going to talk a little bit about the City Open. By the numbers, when you think about them, $28 million of gross economic impact in the Washington metropolitan area. The guy with us will talk a little bit about it, Dennis Spencer, Senior VP for Lagardère North America International Broadcast, also has your invisible hand all over this tennis tournament as well. So, Dennis, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. It's fun to see you.
And thank you for slipping so gingerly into that seat.
I do things gingerly these days.
Yeah, that's really good. So we're still using that pen, ladies and gentlemen, because apparently it's sophisticated enough.
I didn't even know they made felt tip pens anymore.
Well, they do. It's consistent. So, and by the way, you here outside, I'm going to wrap up after Dennis is over. We're going to go out there and we're going to take a look. We're right basically in the box overlooking the tennis tournament. Show that for a second so we can see it. I don't know if people can see that, but what's going on is a match between Zverev and Fritz in one of the very interesting matches of this middle-of-week tournament.
So it's a world-class pan by our camera person, Cammie Cease.
Cammie Cease is our executive producer of the day. You know, we get commitments from the executive producers all the time, and she's been really good. If the image is shaking, it's because Cammie's had a tough night last night but so far everything's been good. And Dennis, of course, is really great at this. $2.5 million total player compensation, 48th year, the Rock Creek Tennis Center, founded in 1969. It's a big deal, but Dennis, more important is the consistency of this event here in Washington.
It's really been remarkable when you think that basically this is the oldest event in America at one site. And the reason it's here is because Donald L., who was on just a minute ago, founded the tournament with Arthur Ashe. Arthur Ashe was his first client. And Arthur said, Donald, I'll play the event in Washington, D.C. every year as long as you put it in a public park. So here we are in a public park. National Park Service runs it, and it's been in this park for 48 years now. And it really is a remarkable story when you think about how this tournament has been able to compete and become a top 20 ATP tournament in the world, given public park, not a lot of private things you can do, and it's a great story. Donald and Ken both referred to the international and gender-neutral aspect of tennis. Generally, what's the field? How many world tennis players in this field versus Americans? What's the ratio here? I think it's about, at least on the men's side, it's maybe 60-40 international, because we're a U.S. tournament, a lot of Americans play. And normally it's more like probably 80-20 in the three non-Olympic years. Women are probably a little heavier on the international side this year. But it's great draws, and we're having a lot of fun. Is it a hard event? It is. What are the challenges of putting together an event effectively between two majors in the summer series? Well, the tough part for this specific event is that because this is used for the public, all year round, we basically have 10 days to set it up and a week to tear it down. So the amount of staff power that goes into basically creating this out of nothing is a huge challenge. And then the competition itself is, it's got to be world-class standard in everything we do. And so that's, you got a short amount of time to pull it off. Well, the event itself is one thing for you, but your international expertise is basically unprecedented around the world as far as putting broadcast deals together. And so give me your international perspective of tennis. Is it easier to do a global deal today than it used to be? It's so much easier. One, because there are just so many outlets. And two, because when you look at the media world that we're living in, live content is just being gobbled up. Because as the audience continue to fracture, as we all have more viewing options, you can time shift anything you want. You can deliver it any way you want. But the one thing you really can't change is live sports. And that ranges, you see that every way from the proliferation of betting on the sport in Europe and in Asia to even our viewing patterns in America. I mean, just think about last week at the British Open tennis. Yeah. I mean, the golf, the Open. Time shift the last day. Yeah. Who wants to do that? You're going to time shift any TV show you want to watch. You're going to time shift Downton Abbey, but you're not going to time shift the Open. How do we deal long term with this generation who are looking at this show through those kind of devices, who don't care about having television sets, and more important, who want their matches over at a certain time and an hour and all of that kind of stuff? I mean, it's a challenge in the future, isn't it? It's a real challenge, but you saw part of the answer already when Ken was flipping around courts there on his phone earlier. I mean, that's the future. We're doing 3 courts every day here, and it's and how you package it, how you slice and dice it is a big challenge. Now, the live sports, it's hard to shrink them up except in highlights, and if you want the live immediacy, you really can't do that. I think a big challenge for tennis is, of course, the length of the matches. It's maybe the hardest thing to program in all of sports. Particularly, you think about a Davis Cup where the matches are 3 of 5 sets. The Sunday of Davis Cup can be the greatest day of television or the worst day of television, depending on the results. Yeah, and is there a way? Greater minds than this haven't been able to solve that. What's that look like 5 years from now? Well, Dave Haggerty, the former president of the USTA, now the chairman of the ITF, is working hard on it, and I think the first thing they'll do is create a Final Four at one location. I'd love to see them play it every other year, like the Ryder Cup's played. Yeah. It just chews up too much bandwidth. So the bottom line of all of this is that you're excited about this event. What does this event look like 5, 6, 8 years from now? Well, I think if history tells us anything, the prize money is going to keep going up. I think the sponsors will be even more attracted to it because of the audience it drives. I mean, the video, the media, the digital, and the television on an event like this is incredible. We're in 182 countries. Tennis Channel starts. They played last year's final at 8 a.m. Monday, and except for the hours of 2 a.m. to 6 when they're doing their Vegimatic infomercials or whatever,
right.
It's going to be City Open tennis for 7 days.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing.
Pretty amazing and pretty amazing event, and really thank you very much for this.
Thank you.
Thank you. And this is a real pen. I just want you to know. I know it's hard to find a felt tip like this, but if you want to buy microphone holders as felt tips, just look at my website, and I'll be able to sell you that. Not a problem. So let's go through some perspective on this. Dennis, really appreciate it, and I just wanted to give you all some perspective on where we are in the tennis business, and then we'll conclude things. I think very positive for a number of different reasons. The first one, it's international, it's global. The players, when you look at the top 12 by anybody's account, there's only one that's basically North American in any context, Serena Williams. While some people would point to the fact that means that you don't have the top emerging young Americans, when you look at the bottom 50 or so in this top 100, they're there, they're coming, and it really is, for this international audience, an incredibly international sport. It's also gender neutral. We discussed that before. The WTA, the Women's Tennis Association, about $70 million of revenue or income every year versus about $107 million for the men, but both of them collectively up 55% over the last 5 years. So they're increasing on a regular basis, and they will continue to increase. Next, the mix of icons and emerging superstars. You heard Donald talk about the old days, the Rod Laver days, the Borg days, the McEnroe days. But when you look at the top people from the Horrow Sports Ventures, Power 100, as well as the top paid tennis players, and you look at the men, it's Murray, Federer, Nadal, Wawrinka, Nishikori, and Thiem. Now, that's a mix of old and new. On the women's side, Sharapova, she's going to sit out for a while, if and she may never come back, but it's Kerber, it's Kvitova, it's Muguruza, who won last year, and it's Venus Williams. Serena's up there, number one. The bottom line is a tremendous mix of old and new, and I think that's very important. Next, the diverse sponsors. We talked about that deal that was done on the women's side platform. That's a huge deal. The corporate dollars are there. The city presence is here at the City Open, but there's also a very significant set of corporate sponsors. And then the mixture between the players' ability to earn on-court and off-court. About 4 to 8 times the off-court money is earned on-court. And the Olympic dollars are very insignificant when you think about the patriotism there, although corporations need to continue to have their home. The bottom line is this. Tennis is in very good hands. There's an event that's going on right out here. Dennis Spencer, Donald Dell, Ken Solomon, and all of them continue to play a very significant hand in this. There are challenges. There will be players that drop out of the Olympics. There are the confusing governance aspects of the men's and women's event. Do the majors get consolidated as far as governing structure is concerned? How do you cut back the event so they're ending at a certain time for timing? Dennis Spencer identified all those issues. Bottom line is, it has challenges like every other sport, but they're meeting those challenges. That's why tennis is here to stay as a major sport in not only the American but the international sports scene. I'm the sports professor Rick Horrow, and that's Beyond the Scoreboard.
We all know healthcare has changed drastically. It's quite the puzzle to sort through your options and find a health insurance plan that's affordable and maximizes your benefits. And you're now required by law to have health insurance, or you may pay a tax penalty. So let the Health Markets Insurance Agency help you. They offer plans from over 120 different companies and can even help you obtain government subsidies. Let them do all the research for you and show you how affordable health insurance can be, a service that's at no extra cost to you. Call now and learn your options to find affordable health insurance. 800-614-1242. 800-614-1242. 800-614-1242. 800-614-1242. Health Markets Insurance Agency is the DBA or assumed name of Insphere Insurance Solutions, Inc., which is a licensed insurance agency in all 50 states and D.C. Not all agents are licensed to sell all products. Service availability varies by state.
Attention, if you've had hip replacement surgery and suffered any complications, you need to listen to this important legal alert. Major manufacturers have made billions of dollars available to award legal claims for defective hip implants. Thousands of these defective hip implants have been recalled by various manufacturers. If you've had hip surgery and suffered complications, you may be entitled to receive significant compensation to help you deal with your complications. You may be eligible to receive money to help with medical expenses, lost wages, and pain and suffering. Protect yourself by hiring an experienced trial attorney. Our partner law firms are experts in hip replacement surgery lawsuits. Find out now if you're eligible to receive any of the $2.5 billion HIP settlement fund. Call now for free information. 800-296-1360. 800-296-1360. 800-296-1360. That's 800-296-1360.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 877-663-7126 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 877-663-7126 to take your call now. Call 877-663-7126. That's 877-663-7126. Again, 877-663-7126.
Sports professor Rick Horrow, special tennis edition. Ken Solomon, tennis channel. Donald Dell, tennis icon. Dennis Spencer, tennis executive. All things international, all things tennis. And now, bust, boom, and hope. The bad, the good, and the hopeful in our economy. Sports. First, bust. U.S. basketball team took its official team photos, by the way, and only Nike swooshes were visible on the players. Despite having 3 non-Nike athletes featured in the pictures, their shoes, by the way, strategically blocked out. Klay Thompson, Kyle Lowry, Harrison Barnes, all signed with other brands. Lowry and Barnes with Adidas, Thompson with Chinese brand Anta. Their shoes hardly visible in the featured images. The vertical noted that Jimmy Butler and DeAndre Jordan are awkwardly crouched down, each strategically blocking the footwear of the non-Nike athletes. And while this may not mark the first time Nike has gone this far to block any non-Nike logos, the 3 non-Nike athletes do represent the highest total since Nike partnered with USA Basketball. And it comes on the absence of some of Nike's top brand ambassadors, LeBron James, Blake Griffin, Kobe Bryant, Russell Westbrook. Boom. Baltimore-based sportswear company Under Armour, one step closer to having a new headquarters in hometown Baltimore. They purchased the land, UA did, where it plans to build a $70 million headquarters. That number more than twice what company founder, chair, and CEO Kevin Plank, private real estate firm, paid back in 2014. The waterfront site, about 50 acres, and includes 8 acres of submerged area as well. Plank's firm, Sagamore Development, did not respond directly to questions, but the state valued about $60 million for tax purposes, expected to be about 3.5 to 4 million of square feet, man-made lake, several towers, a field house, and a stadium, and a lot of sneakers and a lot of equipment. And finally, hope. Following the footsteps of the Power 5, ACC finally set to launch its own network. ESPN launches ACC Network Plus next month, agreed on a 20-year deal and rights extension through 2035-36 academic year. Hope I'm alive by then. We'd like to thank Dennis Spencer, Donald Dell, Ken Solomon for making our tennis show certainly a special one. And next week we talk football and other things. And won't you join us when once again we go Beyond the Scoreboard?